So we're going to get started with dividing fractions. Okay, dividing fractions. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. Okay, making sure that we know how to divide fractions. Now, whenever we're dividing fractions, okay, it's very similar, okay, to multiplying fractions. All the same rules that we do for multiplying fractions, okay, all the steps, okay, whether only having a numerator and a denominator, okay, no mixed numbers, okay, making sure that we simplify, making sure that we do table from improper to mixed, okay, we're going to follow with dividing fractions. The only difference now is that we're going to be applying this new rule. And the rule that we're going to be applying is keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. That is going to be the new rule that we use for whenever we are dividing fractions. So whenever we divide fractions, we're going to do keep, change, flip. Okay? And let me write that down. So when you have to divide fractions, you will use KCF. Okay, so you will hear me say a lot on KCF. You will use KCF. Okay, and again, KCF stands for keep, change, flip. Okay, keep, change, flip. So, let's say we have an example. Let's say we have this problem right here. 1/2 divided by 3/4. 1/2 divided by 3/4. Well, your first indication right here, okay, your first signal, the first thing that you should bring up in your head is, well, we're dividing. And if we're dividing, we're going to do KCF. Okay, KCF, because we're dividing. That should be the very first thing we see. Okay, both numbers have a numerator and denominator. Okay, they don't have any whole numbers, so we don't have to do any previous steps. But so we're going to go ahead and focus on the KCF, okay, the division sign. Well, if I'm going to do KCF on this, okay, what's going to happen is, I'm going to rewrite my problem real quick.
Sir, don't you have to...
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and label, okay, each part KCF, okay. What that lets me know is that I'm going to go ahead and keep. This is the part that I'm going to change. Okay, and then I'm going to flip the last fraction. Flip the last fraction. So when I do this, okay, I'm going to end up with a new problem. Okay, and the new problem that I get is, well, I kept my first fraction. I changed my operation from division to multiplication, and then I flipped my second fraction. Okay, I flipped my second fraction. So, I'm going to write here a little summary of what I did. Notice how we keep the first fraction okay, then we change the operation to multiplication. Then then flip. the last fraction. Okay, so this is just a little summary of what we did. Okay, so this is what we did to these steps. Okay, this is what we did to the previous steps. Okay, that's how we got 1/2 times 4/3. Okay, now a little side note. Okay, little side note is reciprocal is actually your vocabulary word. Okay, that's the word you have to know. Okay, that means that's your flip part. Okay, the reciprocal. Okay, the reciprocal. If you have, in this case we had 3/4, and I take the reciprocal, I get 4/3. Okay, 4/3. Just make sure you know what reciprocal means as part of your vocabulary words. Okay, that we covered last week. Okay, reciprocal. So now, now that I have my problem here, let me go ahead and solve for it. Well, my problem was 1/2 times 4/3. Okay, well, my rules for multiplication say numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Okay, so 1 times 4 gives me 4. 2 times 3 gives me 6. Okay, and I get left off with 4/6. Okay, now 4/6, falls within our even shortcut, so I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to divide by 2. Okay, because even if I take let's say I didn't divide by 2. Let's say I forgot my shortcuts. Okay, and I take the factors of these numbers, 1 and 4, 2 and 2, 1 and 6, 2 and 3. The biggest number they have in common is 2 regardless. So that means I'm going to divide top and bottom by 2. So 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. So my answer becomes 2/3. Okay, 2/3. Okay, and again, all these problems, or all these steps, all these steps are still exactly the same from multiplying fractions. The only difference, the only step that we have added is the KCF. If it is division, we're going to have to do keep, change, flip. That is the only difference from dividing fractions to multiplying fractions, is that whenever you are dividing fractions, you will be using KCF, turning it into a multiplication problem, and then using the same exact steps that we've used before to solve for our problems.